The Fort Erie Podcast with Brent Jones. Brent Jones starts now.
Hello and welcome. It is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. This is episode 86 of the Fort Erie Podcast, and I'm Brent Jones. Thank you for joining me. Today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I do have an important announcement I want to make today. I'm going to end today's episode with that. I'm going to save that for the end, but good news. My guest today will be Kamora Morgan. Now, if you don't know Kamora, she's an elite level basketball player at Fort Erie International Academy, the FEIA Falcons. Her team, unfortunately, the women's basketball team, just unfortunately eliminated in the second round of playoffs. At the time I spoke with Kamora when we had our chat over the phone a couple of weeks ago, she was obviously enthusiastic, excited, looking forward to playoffs. But I'm going to give you the spoiler. That's how playoffs worked out. Nonetheless, great chat with Kamora. She's going to give you a rundown of the demands of playing sports at that level at FEIA, the course load, attending a private high school. Lots of good stuff there. But, and we're also going to tackle today too, some community events, things coming up in the next week or two. It's sort of with that in mind that I have an article pulled up that I think you guys will enjoy. 50 awesome things to do on March break. That was 50, because it's that time of year again. Next week, school-age kids will be at home. This article, for some reason, assumes that you're going to be at home with your kids. Not everybody. That may or may not be the case, of course, for everybody. But nonetheless, if you're a parent, you're probably trying to figure out, hey, what should I do with my kids? And the answer to that question might change depending upon their ages. For instance, at my place, it's not really an issue because my toddler is not even 2 yet. She's still in daycare, and daycare keeps on running through March break. But I'm not going to go through all 50 on this list, but I will highlight a few of my favorites, like this one. Make homemade bird feeders for the backyard. Pine cones smeared with nut butter and rolled in bird seed will do the trick. This activity sounds like something that will take a grand total of 5 minutes. So you got to go round up some pine cones, get some nut butter or equivalent. I'm assuming peanut butter would also work. Bird seed. You probably don't have that on hand, so go to the store and pick up some bird seed. And then what? You smear these pine cones, make a mess, presumably. You put them up in the backyard. So I'm guessing you're going to need some string or something for that. You hang them up. And then what? How old are your kids? The only people I know who are sitting around waiting for birds to show up at the bird feeder are like 108 years old. Like, what kid is going to sit there in the backyard just waiting to see if a bird is going to show up? That's silly. Another one here says, take a bus tour of your city. You will learn loads about your local town. What metropolitan area does this author assume we're living in that you can just hop on a bus? Like, are you based in London or Paris or Toronto or something? Where exactly are you going to take a bus tour of Fort Erie? I don't know. It says add glow sticks to the bath for a water rave. Yeah, so take all your kids, regardless of whether they're 2, 8, or 16, and plunk them all in the bath, buck naked, I assume, and throw some glow sticks in there, and everybody will have a good time. I'm sure it won't be awkward or weird at all. Another one here says, book a hotel, even if it's just in your own city or town for a close-to-home staycation. Yeah, I mean, why have the kids drive you nuts at home and nothing to do when you could go do the exact same things in a hotel room that you just paid for? Especially if you got a whole bunch of kids, maybe they can all share one bed. That should go really well. It says, visit the bank so your kids can open their first bank accounts. That is a terrible idea. Do not do that with your kids on March break. You've already got bored kids at home. They're getting antsy. So go to the bank and make them sit there for an hour while you open up accounts for them that they presumably have no money to put in the first place. Send snail mail to grandparents or other relatives who would love to receive cards or pictures from your little ones. If you're going to go over, I guess I assume they're talking about you're going to write snail mail, like write a letter or a card and stick it in the mailbox and wait for it to show up at grandma and grandpa's place. That's cool if you want to do that, I guess. But why not do one step better? If those guys want to see your kids so bad, why not just drop them off with the grandparents for a couple days next week? Oh, and this one, my favorite one towards the end of the list, paint a room in your house a new fun color. I actually just painted a room in our house, and I can't think of anyone that I would have wanted involved less in that project than my child. Paint makes a mess. It's not fun. There's precision involved. There's discipline and control. I feel like unless you want your house to look like a paintball battlefield, this is a really, really bad idea. I say all that to say, guys, I have no good ideas for what to do with your kids on March break, but let's get into some community events because, hey, there's a few things happening around our town next week that just might interest your kids.
Community events coming up in Fort Erie.
Here's a look at some events coming up in our town over the next week and a half or so. For starters, if your kids are into crafting, they could always stop by Fort Erie Public Library. That's the Crystal Ridge branch today at 3:30 p.m. for after-school crafts. This is for kids ages 4 and up, and you can register them online for free. So do that right away if you want them to stop by today at 3:30. Happening tomorrow, that's March 6th at 5 o'clock, is Cook Dinner for Under $10. Tips and strategies to cope with the rising costs of food. This is being put on by Bridges Community Health Center, but it is an online event. If you want to register for this one, you can contact info@bridgeschc.ca. The book release party for Shades of Blue is also happening tomorrow. That's at 7 p.m. at the Ridgeway branch of the Legion. It's a blue-themed party, and I believe it's being hosted by a Canada's Got Talent finalist. Tickets are about $12 on Eventbrite. Then happening on Thursday at 7 o'clock, you can catch Yin Yoga, which is apparently this is a relaxing yoga session hosted by certified instructor Melissa Ward. It's happening at the Little Spa in Crystal Beach. See Eventbrite for details on this one. Fort Erie Public Library is hosting a book sale. That's happening on Saturday at 10 o'clock, again at the Crystal Ridge branch. This is a fundraiser for Fort Erie Public Library. You can drop in starting at 10 o'clock to browse the selection of books. Then on Sunday afternoon, catch Rick Taylor Band performing at the Crystal Chandelier. That gets going at 2 in the afternoon. There is no cover charge, so you can just stop in and catch the blues music. Scoop McCoy is putting on a magic show at the Centennial branch of Fort Erie Public Library on Monday, March 11th at 10 o'clock. It is free to attend, but it may already be fully booked. You have to contact Fort Erie Public Library to find out for sure. Remember, next week, March break is starting, so there's a bunch of extra events happening for kids, but I imagine if many of them are not already totally booked and filled up, they will be soon. But anyway, if you're lucky enough to get in, Scoop McCoy puts on a great magic show, interactive and high energy, appropriate for all ages. Also happening Monday, March 11th at the Centennial branch of Fort Erie Public Library. Ages 6 and up can attend a robotics club. This is a recurring event, I believe. It is free to attend. You can contact the library for more information if you think your kids might be into that. Stephanie Klauk from The Creative Knitter is hosting a woven wall hanging workshop at Gather Tasting Room in Crystal Beach. That's happening Tuesday, March 12th at 6:30 p.m. You can purchase a ticket on Eventbrite for that. And lastly, I'll mention Friday, March 15th at 6 p.m. Head on down to the Yoga Dome in Stevensville for Journey to the Heart. That's a self-love and sound healing meditation retreat. If that sounds like your jam, grab a ticket by visiting theyogadome.ca. Now let's get right into my chat with Kamora Morgan.
The Fort Erie Podcast.
All right, I'm joined right now on the phone by Kamora Morgan, who's an elite athlete at Fort Erie International Academy, wears jersey number 1, plays for the women's basketball team. Kamora, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brent. I'm happy to be here today.
I appreciate you making time to speak with me. Thank you for that. I think most listeners, most people around the town of Fort Erie know FEIA, Fort Erie International Academy, is a K-12 private boarding school. But I think what a lot of people around town may not know is the extent of the athletics program. Could you tell listeners about that?
For sure. Well, at Fort Erie, we actually have 2 different sports programs. We have a hockey team where they have both boys and girls teams. And then on the basketball side, we have 4 basketball teams, 3 boys teams, and 1 girls team. I play for the one and only women's team here, and I love playing at Fort Erie. I feel like it's a great opportunity. We play a lot of games. We also have a lot of exposure. Like, we travel. Like, every month we're going to the United States to compete against the best talent over there. Then, obviously, we all compete in the Ontario Scholastic Basketball Association. So we also play against the best of the best here. So it's a great experience.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a positive experience. Now, I want to touch on that some more, but the idea of being able to travel to do something you love, I mean, that stands out to me because, you know, that's something that I think people who maybe go to a sort of a typical public high school experience, they wouldn't get that. I mean, what are some of the places that you've been to?
For sure. Well, this year so far, we've been to Chicago. We went to Florida for actually 2 weeks in November. We've been to Ohio 3 times. And we're going to be going to Chicago again for the grind session championship. Yeah, that's pretty much it though. But Florida was a great trip for us. We were there for over 2 weeks, hot weather in the middle of like November, December time. So it was winter back at home. So it was nice to get out, enjoy the warm weather. Yeah.
Well, I would think I'd love any excuse to go to Florida in November for 2 weeks. I think that sounds great. But when you were in Chicago, did you try a Chicago style hot dog?
No, I haven't actually. We were just pretty much hotel game. I was there, but we were down there with one of the guys' team, so it was nice to have them too, like be able to support their game.
Oh, well, that's cool. I'm only asking because I've been to Chicago a bunch of times, and every time I've gone, when people find out I'm not from the area, they go, "Oh, you got to go to what is it, Portillo's or something like that. You got to try the Chicago style hot dog."
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's I hate if anybody listening is from Chicago. I hate to break it to you, it's just a hot dog, guys. But it is an interesting experience to try it the way you guys do it.
It is good though. You've had it?
Yeah, I've had it. Yeah. It's a hot dog. It's just kind of how they dress it that's a little bit different than maybe what you get up here. But it's worth a try for sure. Same with the deep dish pizza.
Gotcha. Well, we're supposed to be going back later in March, and then maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a try. Let me know what you think. So let's talk about women's basketball because your team, like you're in the playoffs now. You've done well this season, yeah?
Yeah.
So playoffs, we're into March. I mean, playoffs run kind of through what, the end of March? I mean, if you guys were to take it all the way, I mean, how late into the year would you be playing?
Well, OSBA, we'd be done by like second week of March. I would say we'd be done. But after that, like, we still have to compete in the girls' national prep championships and grind sessions. So the season really much take us to like the end of March. But yeah.
So how long have you been then at FEIA, and how long have you been playing for the women's basketball team?
Okay, so last year was grade 11, was my first year at FEIA, and it was also the first year FEIA had a girls' basketball team. So we were all here the first year. We all made our standpoint, our imprint to the team. My first year at FEIA was actually really good. Like for a first year team, like a lot of people doubted us, and like since we were a new team, we started off in tier 2. But based off what we proven last year, we were able to be moved to tier 1 for this year. So that put us in a better situation for this year. Because like this year's schedule is a lot more packed compared to last year. So we got way more opportunities for this year. And just being a part of this women's basketball program, it's just a great opportunity and experience. It's like we travel, like we have a national schedule. So basically it means that like we compete with the best of the best all over America and in Canada. And we're like one of the only teams out of Canada that have that. So it's just a great opportunity.
Well, I mean, I've seen some of the clips online of the FEIA Falcons playing basketball, I mean, you guys are playing at a level though that is different than what you'd expect for high school students. Generally speaking, say across the public education system, how does that happen? Where somebody like yourself, you have a talent for basketball, and you end up going to a private school like FEIA, because you're not from Fort Erie. I think you said you grew up in Durham, right? So how does that happen? Where you go, hey, I've got these great skills. Let's put them to use somewhere. What does that whole process look like?
Well, basically, like when you're young, you start off playing with like your local like rep team or prep team. So like when I was younger, I played for the Durham City Chameleons, and then from there, like, I gained more exposure, and I got this opportunity to play for UPlay Canada, which is like it's basically like a team they had to showcase talent, and then from there, I got more experiences, and that's where I met my coach today, who was Coach Kip, and then he brought me these opportunities, and he like moved out to Fort Erie, so like all of his players are like talented kids he knew from around the GTA or whatever. He brought us all up to Fort Erie.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Okay, so your coach was a big part of that. Said, hey, I'm coming to Fort Erie and I'm taking all you guys with me.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Because like before that, we were all spread apart. Like, yeah, we would play like the same AE team, which is like the summer circuit. We'd play together then, but then we'd all go back our separate ways. But then when Fort Erie became an opportunity last year, Coach Chip's like, he brought us all back together, and now we play the school season together.
So, well, that's great. I mean, I have to imagine that you traveled to Fort Erie with, maybe some other people that you knew through basketball, but that's also got to be tough, yeah. I would think. Like you're living away from your family, from people you grew up with. You're doing that at a relatively young age. Do you get a lot of chances to kind of go home and see friends and family?
Well, we go home maybe once a month. Like average once a month. We get to go home maybe once every 2 months, but it's not bad. Like me personally, I'm used to being away from home because even before I came to Fort Erie, I was living in Maryland. I went to a private school in Maryland.
Okay.
So I'm actually used to being away from home. So it's not too bad for me. But for others, it gets tough sometimes. But that's where you build a family away from home. Like Fort Erie, we're like a family away from home.
What are some of your favorite things about the town of Fort Erie so far? I know, and I want to ask you about your schedule because I know your athletics and school, everything's got to keep you busy. But what are some of your favorite things about the town of Fort Erie now that you've been here for a couple of years?
Honestly, the best thing about Fort Erie is that it's away from everything. We're separated. We're separated from Toronto. We're separated from all the traffic, like all the events. Like we're just like we're in our own space, our own area. We just lock it and focus on what we need to. So I like what.
The saying in this area is that you're 20 minutes away from everything, right? Whether it's Niagara Falls or Buffalo, wherever you want to be, you're 20 minutes away.
Yeah,
maybe,
sure.
Maybe not Toronto so much, but it's at least on this side. Everything you want to go to, you're at least within 20 minutes. Let's get into your schedule, because it sounds to me like for somebody playing basketball at your level, there's obviously a lot of practice, there's a lot of prep time. You've got a full course load at school as well. I think I think speaking offline, I think you told me you have to maintain like an 80% average or something to be able to keep playing basketball. So tell listeners about that for somebody who's attending FEIA. For sports, what do those demands look like?
Well, so basically, you just have to have great time management because, like you were saying, like we have a lot of practice. Like we practice every day after school, and we have like games like practically every week. We play a lot of games, and like there's also the school part. Like me personally, I have 3 courses, so I have 1 spare, so I get that extra time in between to catch up on my other work. Like basically, it's just a lot of time management, school, practices, games, all that stuff. You just have to manage it well.
You're practicing and playing how many times a week?
Practices every day. Typically, we get Saturdays off, but other than that, we practice every day after school for 2 hours. And games, we probably get like 2 games a week. But now that we're in playoffs, it's like 1 game and go home. So now our season's like slowing down. In the peak of our season, like Florida, we were playing like every other day, like November, December time.
Wow. Okay. Now, does the school help at all as far as providing, tutors for say, hey, you got practice, you got all these other things going on? I mean, is there more kind of one-on-one help to make sure that you're hitting all of the grade requirements while doing everything else?
Well, if you need like one-on-one help, it's like your responsibility to go get that. Like after school, typically like mostly every day after school, they have something called academic support, which is where all the teachers stay back for an hour on certain days during the week, and that's where you can get your extra help.
Okay.
Like if you're struggling, like it's your responsibility, your job to make sure you get that.
Buck stops with you.
Yeah.
So what's the goal then? I mean, I'm sure the goal in part is to play basketball. I mean, that's what you love doing. But there's kids at FEIA. If I can call them kids, you're really young adults. But I mean, there's kids at FEIA getting Division I offers. Big plans to play ball in college or university. I mean, is that kind of the goal that you're working towards right now? What's what's kind of the bigger picture?
Bigger picture, just playing at the next level. I want to play NCAA Division I basketball. I love, especially like now, college basketball, girls college basketball is getting much bigger. Like I'm not sure if you heard of Caitlin Clark yet, but she's really big now, and she's making a name for herself and helping promote women's basketball. It's becoming a lot bigger, so I just want to be able to compete.
And do you have a sort of a college university already in mind? I mean, do you have a direction you're headed for next year, or what happens now?
Well, I'm waiting to like April, May to make my final commitment. I do have a couple schools in mind. Like Brown's University is a big school that I'm looking towards because they're also they're part of the Ivy League, meaning like it's like Harvard, like a very good academic school, but they also have a great basketball program. So
okay, so Brown is an option for you then.
Yeah,
that's a great option, man. Like, I mean, are you holding out for something better than Brown?
Well, I'm waiting things out because We're getting to like the playoffs, which is the best part of our season, where I need to perform my best. And I've also been playing better recently. So if a school that I maybe will fit me better basketball wise comes my way, then But like Brown's, like you said, it's a great option, great school.
For sure it is. Yeah. Well, congratulations. I mean, that's excellent. What's if we were to think bigger? I mean, is basketball the career? Is it hey, you want to go to college and study something else? I mean, what? I hate to sound like a guidance counselor while I'm talking with you, but I mean, what is kind of the life path here? What do you see yourself doing in 10 years?
10 years, well, I want to become, the end goal is to become a sports analyst. Like, I want to become part of sports media, like sports broadcasting, be able to, when I'm done playing, be able to still be in the field of my sports. I love basketball. Like, after I'm done playing, I still want to be able to talk about it, and express my knowledge about the game.
All right. Well, one of the ways you got to express yourself recently, and I know you wanted to talk about this, folks, you can share your Instagram handle if you want, where people can find you, but you were mic'd up for the senior night game. You want to tell listeners what that was all about?
Yeah. So yeah, my Instagram is k1.morgan_. And yeah, I was mic'd up on senior night, which was like a couple weeks back. And it was just, even though we did lose the game, it was unfortunate. We had a tough loss against Niagara Prep, but I was mic'd up for the first time. I've never been mic'd up before, so I was kind of shaky. I didn't really know what to say. I was like, I feel like I did a good job. Like, I got a few clips of me scoring, a few clips of me like motivating my teammates, talking. It's quite funny. I feel like all you guys should definitely check the video out. It's fun.
I'll definitely check it out. Now, is that kind of the idea? Do you get coached on this ahead of time? They go, hey, we're going to mic you up. Try to act natural. Is that
No.
No?
Literally what happened is I was just warming up, and then our Chris, which is our camera guy, he called me over and was like, do you want to be mic'd up? I'm like, you know what? Sure. Last home game of the season, senior night, why not? So, he hooked me up, put the mic on my jersey, and I just went out there and said whatever I had to say,
Were there any, I don't want to ruin it for people, but maybe do you want to give us a spoiler? Was there like anything silly that was captured? Anything you didn't mean to say, or?
Well, I was talking about, because like the refs, I felt like the refs were very biased that game, so I was like, how much money did they get for this? And it was just probably one of the funny things I
That's funny. A little bit of bias on senior night from the refs, eh?
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate. And hey, sorry for the loss, but congrats on playoffs and Division I college offers too. I mean, I think that's fantastic. Is there anything else you want to share with listeners before we wrap up?
No, I feel like we got over a lot, sports, FEIA, women's basketball. I feel like we covered a lot. It was good.
It's Fort Erie's answering machine, the Byrd Box.
This is the Byrd Box. It's Fort Erie's answering machine. You can call in anytime and squawk about anything you want. 289-599-BYRD or 289-599-2973. You leave messages and then I play them right here on the Fort Erie podcast so the whole town can hear. Now, it is not a secret that my family is about to grow again. My wife and I are expecting our second child at the end of the month. And I got a message here from a regular listener, a repeat caller, who phoned in with some advice. Have a listen.
I'm a senior citizen. I listen to your podcast regularly, and I have a bit of advice I'd like to give you. What I want to say is always find a way to spend quality time with your children as they grow. Because trust me, they are going to grow up and grow away so fast. And I'm sure people my own age who have already been there and done that will be able to relate. I'm in my early 70s, and throughout all of my years of life, the memories I cherish the most are those of when our two sons were children at home.
Almost sounds like he's going to cry at the end. Wow. Okay. So I can say from experience, with my firstborn being almost 2 now, those first 2 years flew by. Ellie's 22 months now. Should be 23 months at the end of March. I spent the weekend actually putting together a toddler bed, putting together her bed. She's got her kind of her own room now because we had to reset the nursery for the newborn. So, and she was very excited about it. Yellow's her favorite color, so I painted the one accent wall yellow. She just calls it the yellow room. It's not her room. It's not Ellie's room. It's the yellow room. In fact, she asked before, as I was painting the wall, she said, Ellie sleep yellow room? Like she's into that stage now of saying full sentences that still aren't really full sentences. But I say that all that to say that there's times my wife and I scratch our heads because over the past 2 years, there's just so much that we don't remember about the newborn phase. We go, well, we got a newborn, on our way. But there's a lot of this stuff, like we just don't remember the day to day. We kind of just got through it and moved on to the next thing. And I'm sure that's something a lot of parents can relate to. So I have some idea of how quickly it goes. But you think, in 16 years, my firstborn's going to be heading off to college, most likely. So I think this is good advice from this caller. Thank you. I appreciate it. I've tried to act on this idea that, time does move fast. I've tried to act on this since the day my firstborn was born. I am kind of that weird realtor who sets office hours. I've done it that way since the day she was born. I don't keep my cell phone on, let alone on me 24 hours a day. I know that's what agents typically do, stereotypically. You can reach me Monday to Friday pretty easily, but on weekends, I work by appointment only, meaning if you don't have something set up with me by Friday night, well, my phone's going to go into a drawer and I won't look at it again till Monday. That's just how I operate my business. It's not because I don't love my job. It's not because I don't love real estate. I do. But the immediacy of the whole thing can be tiring sometimes, where it's like you feel like you're on call and on edge 24 hours a day. I love real estate, but I also recognize I only get 936 Saturdays with my kids before they move out. Another dad online, it was a social media dad. It was like one of these dad accounts on social media. I remember reading that before my first daughter was born. You get 936 Saturdays with your kids before they turn 18 and, presumably move out or go away to school or whatever the case may be. And I look at it and say, I've already basically used up 100 of those with my firstborn. And I take crap for it sometimes from other agents. They don't like it that I'm not reachable 24 hours a day like they are. Well, that's too bad. I don't run my business the way other agents run theirs. They can do what they want. That's fine. If my approach to business costs me business because, hey, you'd rather work with an agent that is available 24 hours a day, then so be it. But I sleep much better at night knowing that I make sure to be present for my kids when I have the chance to be present. And so it's with that thought in mind that I want to end today's episode with the announcement that I promised earlier.
Have something you want to squawk about? Let the whole town know what's on your mind. Call the Byrd Box at 289-599-2973. That's 289-599-BYRD.
I promised an announcement at the start of today's episode, and some of you who are regular listeners of the Fort Erie podcast, some of you who've been listening for a long time, you already saw this coming. You already know what I'm about to say. It's no secret at this point. I think most of you know that my second daughter is due March 28th. She will be making her debut at the end of the month, 23 days from today exactly. And I can say with a fairly high degree of confidence exactly what day she will be arriving because my wife, I should say, it's great to say we, but my wife has a C-section scheduled for March 28th. So we're pretty sure that's the day baby number 2 will be making her arrival. And if you are, again, a regular listener and you think back a couple of years, when my wife and I were expecting our first child, that's exactly when I put the Fort Erie podcast on hiatus. I said, hey, we're having a great time. I enjoy doing this show, but I've got to say so long for now because something's got to give. And we're at that time again, guys. I know some of you are going to be disappointed by that news. I get it. I am too. Had a lot of fun over this past year or so producing new episodes, but it is that time again that something is going to have to give in my schedule because just like everybody else, I've only got 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week to work with. So just to kind of paint the picture, I'm going to have, 2 girls in my house, 2 under 2, not a lot of family support in the area. Not to say none, but we don't have a ton of extended family as some people do to kind of help with things. My wife and I are both self-employed, so neither of us get parental leave, sort of that sweet 18 months that so many parents do get who are employees. We are both essentially immediately going to need to go back to work. And much like with our first child prior to daycare, there's going to be a lot of us trading off where I've got we're calling her codename Nugget, baby number 2, because we don't want to reveal the name until she's actually born. But with baby number 2, Nugget, we're calling her, we'll be doing much like with baby number 1, where we trade off. I've got her for part of the day. My wife's got her for part of the day. So we both have an opportunity to work and do the other things that we do, which is actually fantastic in some respects because it means that, we both get time with our child and we both get time to do things that we love doing in our careers. For me in real estate has inexplicably picked up in 2024. I love being the market guy, the data guy, the numbers guy who can say, hey, here's why things are happening. But interest rates didn't drop to start this year off. They remained exactly the same. So I actually can't totally explain why real estate is keeping me busy all day, every day right now. We might see a drop in interest rates tomorrow, March 6th. That's the next Bank of Canada decision. We'll see. But that has certainly occupied a ton of my time this year. And of course, typical for me, I picked right now to start a brand new project. And it's this new project that I sort of want to leave you with or tell you just a little bit about, because this is occupying the rest of my time. When it's not family and it's not real estate and it's not doing this podcast, what's taking up the rest of my time right now when I should be sleeping is this new project that I've been working on. This episode today, me saying, hey, so long for now, this is not so long indefinitely, like last time where I said, hey, I'm ending the show, I'm ending the Fort Erie podcast, who knows when or if it'll ever come back. This is me saying right now, with this new project, you will definitely hear from me again. Okay, later this spring, I'm going to be able to tell you more about this thing that I've been working on for the past many months, hoping to do some net good in our town to keep you, as always, dear listeners, keep you entertained and informed, much like this podcast has always aimed to do. I just can't tell you a lot of specifics right now about what I am working on. But as always, I'm going to remind you, dear listener, to please subscribe to the Fort Erie podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, wherever. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can subscribe to the Fort Erie podcast. Not because there's a new episode coming next week, not at all. There won't be another new episode of this show for some time at this point, at least until later this spring. But I do want you to be notified when there's a new episode available so you can find out sort of all about what I have in store after baby number 2 arrives, of course, okay? Everything has got to happen in its own time here. But as always, but especially today, I guess, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank all of you for leaving messages on the Byrd Box over the past year, having discussions with me, for sharing episodes of the Fort Erie podcast with others on social media, playing through these episodes, guests, people who've come on the show. Thanks again to Kamora. Follow her on social media, coming on today's show. But all of my guests who've come on, spent time, talked with me. I've been your host, Brent Jones. You can follow me on social media. I'm at Buy with Brent everywhere. And I can't wait to connect with you again soon.
You've been listening to the Fort Erie Podcast with your host, Brent Jones. Never miss an episode. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or visit theforteriepodcast.com.